Happy February 13th, everybody. It is Monday here in the great United States of America. I don't know what the hell that patriotic opening was about, but it just felt right. And today, I want to give a shout out because I don't know if I'm going to record tomorrow. And if I don't, happy Valentine's Day to whoever's listening or gives a care. And if you don't, well, you get it anyway. You just heard it. So it's done. But anyway, the first topic and kind of the main topic of this day, I wanted to talk about casual video game players and how people don't give them enough credit for how much they influence the market, for good or bad, specifically in how they're the majority. And I'm just going to go ahead and I have different topics and they kind of bleed into each other. But basically, it's the casual mindset of how, like I'm saying, they don't get enough credit for what they do for the industry. And for some reason, I thought of it while I was eating breakfast with my son, and it just spiraled into what it became. But I don't know if anybody out there remembers a game called Tekken 3 for the PlayStation and for the arcades. And that game, I want to pardon in case you hear anything. Right now, you can hear my son playing with toys. Y'all might not be able to, but if it's loud, that's what that noise is, not just my voice. But anyway, but this game had a character named Eddie Gordo. And basically, for context, I have an older brother who doesn't play video games at all, but he played the shit out of this game, specifically as Eddie Gordo. And I would play as Eddie Gordo too, but I merely mained Paul Phoenix. Anyway, the reason Tekken 3 became super popular was because of this character, Eddie Gordo. It's because he was OP and a broken character. Because all you could do was button mash the kick buttons, and he would do these capoeira breakdancing style moves and just beat the shit out of you. I mean, you couldn't block, but after a while, eventually he'd do a kick that would break your block from above if you were crouching or chop your legs if you were just standing. And it just, I mean, you'd see people in the arcade both picking Eddie Gordo and seeing who could have a kickoff. And it was just like, man, like, there's no sense to this. They're just button mashing. But that's exactly why it took off. And when it became really popular, I did some research. And apparently, Tekken 3 is the most successful entry of the franchise. Before that, it wasn't that famous, and then Tekken 3 really took off, and ever since then, it's just had declining sales. I don't think it'll ever be as big as it was, but it's because some people are like, well, it had a great cast of characters, it was on a PlayStation, which is one of the most popular consoles of its time, and yeah, you could say all of that, but I think realistically, it's because you had a lot of people who didn't know anything about video games being able to button mash and be like, look at me, I'm the best. Not to give them that dumb voice. It's just anybody could play that game, and specifically anybody could be good at it by using Eddie Gordo. And because of this, that game took off in a big way that this franchise of Tekken never will again, probably, unless they introduce a broken character. But when it comes to fighting games, that kind of stuff don't fly, which is why in the next game, I know they introduced like a female breakdancing character in like 5 or 6. And I mean, nobody just talks about that, because even in arcade games, people try to spam, and now they've either nerfed his moves or her moveset, or just given other people ways to counter easier. And so it's one of those things, that character and those movesets are not broken anymore in the fighting scene, which means casuals can no longer beat the shit out of anybody. And so it's just not as appealing of a game. And the reason I mention that, to bleed into other examples of where casuals really shifted the market, was the Wii, PS2, Grand Theft Auto, and Call of Duty. Now, the Wii, I mean, that's a given. I mean, that thing got taken over by old people and children with the waggle controls of bowling and tennis. I mean, that thing just, that whole life cycle was lightning in a bottle. The PS2 was interesting because I know it's one of the most popular consoles in history, and I really didn't know why. And it just came to me. It came... The fucking PS2 doubled as a DVD player. And at that time, DVD players were semi-expensive. So if you had to choose between getting $80 to $90 DVD player or paying $200 or $120, I don't remember the prices. But all I know is you could get a DVD player that cost a lot of money, or you could get a video game system that also could play DVDs for a similar amount. Why not just get the DVD player with the video game system? And I know that sounds like, no, you're full of shit. It's like, look back in history. There's articles about and retrospectives on why the PS2 took off. It's that DVD player. It also helped, that Grand Theft Auto 3 And no, Grand Theft Auto 3 was the one for PS2. That one really took off in a big way because it reimagined open world games. I mean, the same thing that Zelda did with like platform adventure games, GTA did with open world games. Because before that, I mean, GTA 2, I mean, that thing looked like shit from a top down perspective. And people played it and liked it. But it was a whole new world with GTA 3 with the hookers and all this other stuff. I think they even did the San Andreas was in the PS2 area, I think. But regardless, so GTA had a big appeal too because again, the open world / sandbox environment opens itself to casuals, just grabbing the character, saying, "What's the goal?" You don't have one, really? So can I do this? Yes, you can run over that person on the street and shoot up the pedestrians, and you can drive your car into the lake, and nobody cares. You're not going to be punished for it. That's why these games are successful because there's no punishment for failing or punishment for anything. And that's really what casuals and gamers in general don't like. I mean, if you ever see a gamer getting mad, they are never mad because they're winning or doing good in a game. They're mad because they're losing, because they're failing, because the game is telling them they're punishing them by failing them. Oh, go back to this checkpoint. Oh, you lose this gear. Oh, that's the reward and the rewarding system of games, that when you finally complete a tough task, you feel accomplished, even though you just sat around for 3 hours doing a task, like doing nothing. But and that also brings me to Call of Duty, where those games are really solid shooters. I mean, you could group Halo, Combat Evolved into this, and that's part one. That one took off in like the public school library scene. Everybody would download the demo and play on what's that map, Jonathan? Blood Gulch, the original Halo. The one that people would play download the free demo.
Oh yeah,
Blood Gulch. That one would take off in classrooms all over the place where, again, you and your buddies set up a little LAN party in your word processing class or whatever y'all had in the day, and you would just get on your warthogs and I'm not a big Halo player, but I know they have those blue spaceships that you could shoot around and hijack and different. I don't think you could hijack at that point, but it was still interesting. But again, the reason quote unquote casuals, and I'm saying casuals as a catch-all because I do think the gaming community uses casual as a pretty derogatory term, like fucking casuals and their tickle me elmo type games and casuals, whatever. Casuals equals dumb in the gaming community, which I don't think is a fair assessment for the most part. But what's interesting about Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty, I didn't really talk about Call of Duty. What I was trying to get to is that is a really great shooter. That one's a very particular case because it's a great game. The systems in it are great. The reward system is good in terms of prestiging and the guns you unlock, and it's a good game. But what Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty did differently, talking about the casual market, is that these also were successful sequels. And that's my second topic, actually, is that one thing is making a good game, and another one is maintaining it with sequels. And what's interesting is, it's not that hard to make a good sequel. The secret is to just build upon what worked from the previous entry. And literally, that's it. You take what you had and you build upon it. The reason people get confused about what works and what doesn't is because a lot of times what sequels do is that they'll abandon what worked in the old game and replace it with something else. Like, that's one of the reasons why, like, Mario Sunshine gets a bad rap. That game is really good. But in the context of coming after Mario 64, people were like, this sucks. Like, I want Mario 64 too. Or the sequel to Mario 64. And I'm stuck with this flood. And it's one of those things where the only reason that's bad is because the flood was not optional. If you could tackle a stage without the flood or with the flood, it would change the dynamic because the people who didn't want it would not get it. And the people who did want it could choose it. But since they forced you to use it, it felt bad because it was like, I don't like this. And that's where Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty do things differently. Grand Theft Auto especially, it's a very iterative type of series. The sequels that Grand Theft Auto builds do exactly the same as the previous entry, but do more. Like, I haven't played any recent Grand Theft Auto. I'm not a Grand Theft Auto fan. That's just not my wheelhouse. But I do know that like now you can play legitimate tennis matches and racing games. You can play legitimate mini games inside of this open world and participate in activities that you couldn't in previous games. And it's because you can still do everything you used to do in the previous games, but now you can do more. I don't know if it's clear, like what I'm trying to. The same with Call of Duty. Call of Duty does exactly what Modern Warfare, the one that revolutionized the series. All these new Call of Duties do exactly what they did with their leveling up multiplayer system. The only thing they do different is that there's new modes. They added zombies, like that's a new mode, and so people will like that. But they don't replace, like zombies is not, okay, we only have zombies and not standard multiplayer. No, you have standard multiplayer package, the prestiging, the unlockables, and you have zombies. So again, you give players the choice of whether they want to participate in the new stuff or act like it doesn't exist. And it's all about options. It's all about choice. And that's what I think makes a successful sequel. It's pretty interesting stuff. And the third topic is still related to the sequel, but I was talking about Mario's, Zelda's, and fighting games. They lose things or swap out features to test new ones. And exactly what I'm saying. Fighting games will change rosters, so you're losing characters that might be fan favorites, or they want to try a new fighting dynamic or a new camera angle. And so again, they're getting rid of systems that they used in the old series and then replacing them with new ones. And so again, the fan base is like, what the fuck? This ain't the game I played. And it's like, yeah, it's not, because the developers want to try something else. And I think when you do stuff like that, especially with the Zeldas, Majora's Mask was a huge departure from Ocarina and stuff like that. But when you do stuff like that, you open yourself up to more scrutiny of whether or not your game is better or not. Because again, like I'm saying, the iterative games like GTA and Call of Duty, I don't think you have people who say like Black Ops 2 was way better than Infinite Warfare. And it's like, I guess. In that case, it kind of falls into this category of swapping things out. Infinite Warfare is a futuristic setting. Black Ops 2 is a more contemporary setting. And it's one of those things where, yeah, that makes a difference. But if you're comparing like... I'm losing my train of thought. But basically, what I'm saying is, like fighting games and Zeldas, it is a legitimate argument for people to say Ocarina is better than Majora's Mask because they are so different that you might just actually prefer one over the other. But if you were to say I prefer Grand Theft Auto 4 over Grand Theft Auto 5, I would have to say you're objectively crazy because Grand Theft Auto 5 gives you everything Grand Theft Auto 4 gives you and more. Except for the characters or the story. Then at that point, I think you should clarify of I like the story of GTA 4 more than GTA 5 because that's a totally different proposition because you're talking about story now and writing. But yeah, I think that it's just me and my topic for the day of the casual market helping build up titles that the loud minority kind of act like, oh, us gamers, we make what games are, we're the hardcore. And it's like, yeah, but a successful system is actually driven by the casual market. Even now, the PS4 is the number one console right now, but it's not because it's the number one. It's because when Joe Schmo, grandma, grandpa, or mom and dad go into a store and they're like, what's a good system? The GameStop employer, the Toys R Us guy, is going to be like, well, right now the PS4 is selling pretty. I'll take that one. That's what makes the PS4 sell, is the casual consumer just buying whatever is thrown at them. And then, again, it doesn't make it a bad system. It doesn't mean they're getting lied to. It's a really good system. But, again, it wouldn't be where it's at without the casual market. And, yeah, that's kind of the end of this rant/topic. I think it's very interesting how I think we might lose perspective on what actually is the driving force in this industry. Yes, gamers matter. Yes, gamers are the most passionate. But I think the casual gaming market shouldn't be ignored. And that's kind of the point of this topic, is to be more aware of the casual market and more aware specifically also of why we play the games we play and what drives us to play the sequels. As just, again, awareness. That's all I wanted to talk about, really. Sorry if I sounded mad too. I'm not mad or anything like that. I'm a very, passionate speaker. And I rant a lot. I'm one of those guys. I even try to tell myself, you should be more positive. because I start a lot of sentences with, you know what bothers me, or you know what hates me, and what hates me, you know what bothers me, or you know what I hate. That's what I meant to say. And those are strong words. It's hyperbole. I try to pay attention to what's around me and see how I could be more aware of it and what I can do to fix it, or what I can do to educate myself about it. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this topic, and I will end this here. Tweet at me if you disagree with me, if you think that sequels, or what's your ideas on sequels, on the casual crowd, all that good stuff. Tweet at me at Unsaluted. And till next time, I'll see you on the other side for the next segment. Talk to you later. Alright, and we are back, everybody, and welcome to Tuesday the 14th. Happy Valentine's Day. And I just want to say, I'm sorry for that previous segment. When doing some post-editing, I realized that you can hear my son a lot in the background, and he's just playing and talking to himself and stuff. But I didn't realize the mic was picking him up that well. So, don't worry, I slapped him around a bit. He knows better. Just kidding. I don't hit my kid. Which I don't have to defend myself even if I did. But, I mean, I don't think you should, right, as a parent. But, I mean, to each his own, chingo. Alright, I'm not going to get too serious right away. Let's go ahead and talk about games for the time being. That's another topic. What's it called? Disciplinary action against a child or whatever. Anyway, so today's topics they're not fast and loose, but, I mean, like everybody, I'm super hyped about Zelda, super hyped about the Switch. Only 2 more weeks, everybody. 2 weeks. My head is going to explode, like literally thinking about it. I can taste it. But something to put a damper on the mood, sort of, is today Nintendo announced that they will have DLC for Zelda. Now, some people might not like that, but see the thing. I came home from work, I took a nap, and then when I woke up, the news had just broken, and so when I first saw that, I was like, holy crap, like, I was kind of mad, like, my good instinct was like, what the fuck is this, like, why don't they just put this in, or, like, a dungeon and treasure chest, like, what is this, $20, like, it was a lot to process, but, once I, let myself accept, well, they're doing it, now I'll see what it actually is, if it's something I'm actually gonna want, and decide whether or not to pay for it, and yeah, looking at it, I'm gonna end up buying it because that extra dungeon, and because it fits into my theory, my Zelda speculation of how the game might be. In which case, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind. Obviously, once the game releases, we'll have a better idea from reviews and stuff how it actually plays out. But I'm gonna go off of my theory since it's the only one I got. And I don't mind getting another dungeon and more story. Just because, I mean, also at that point, nobody will have played it for quite a long time. It's a really good excuse to come back to the game. Now, what's the benefit to coming back from Nintendo's perspective? I don't know, but if you paid $20, well, they already got your money for a second trip back to Hyrule. What's your benefit besides giving them more money? Well, again, it's more gameplay from a game that you know is good. It's going to be a great open world. The one thing I'm a little worried about is that, let's take this at face value and believe Nintendo didn't have this made. I mean, I don't think they do. That's me personally. I don't think they have it made. Similar to the Mario Kart levels, they didn't have those new cups made. Otherwise, I think they would have put them, or at least launched them sooner. I really think this is something they're planning. And since it's just a new dungeon and just some more story elements, I think they are developing it, or they're in the process of developing it right now. So the problem I'm having with it is kind of, if they're developing this in order to get some DLC out by December or by the fall or winter or whatever, is this taken away from them potentially planning on the next Switch exclusive Zelda? Again, I think that Zelda's a good 2 to 3 years off. We got quite a bit of time until the next one. But, I mean, in case they got some planning stages or stuff like that, in which case, or they might be like whatever ideas they might have for the new Zelda, then they'll just squeeze it in here. And we don't know if this is the last bit of DLC. We don't even know why they chose DLC, but this might become their Zelda open world, and maybe they'll just turn it into a platform, kind of like Kart and Smash, where in theory, if the Wii U was successful, they could have continued adding more characters and stages to Smash and more tracks and characters to Mario Kart. But now they might be transitioning that to Switch, where it is the Nintendo console, where the games that they have that are usually franchises are now platforms to just continually upgrade. I don't think they'll do that with Breath of the Wild, considering it was built as a Wii U game, and I know that they have more power to work with for the Switch, but I don't think it's fully optimized to take advantage of every single thing that the Switch has to offer. And so I think it would be in their best interest that if they want to do an open world platform Zelda game where it is Zelda, that's it, no sequel or semicolon, and that is how they're going to upgrade, then yeah, they would do that in the future. Again, it's just my speculation. But actually, so yeah, so I guess the bottom line is I'm going to buy it. And it's because I'm a damn fanboy for that Nintendo and I love me some Zelda. But I am legitimately curious. You see, I've been reading a lot. And some people are like canceling their Switch and Zelda pre-orders. And it's like, do whatever you need to do. I see it as a choice. No one's forcing you to do it. But I sometimes wish that I'm a fanboy, but I'm also fairly calculating in how I choose things. I would like to think I'm rational. But like in these cases, I'm kind of like, that dungeon is worth it for me. But if you look at the grand scheme of things, it's like $20 for content that's going to be spread over like 6 to 9 months. Is that worth it? I don't think for me. I don't think it's worth it for me because I really just want the dungeon and stuff. I'm not into trials and stuff like that because I'm kind of like, that's too grindy for me. I'm not a big fan of that. But they also said that they would add new elements to the map in the second update. We don't know what those are. Maybe those elements could be more little encampments by bokoblins or something like that, or more shrines. We don't know. Again, it's all up in the air for now. But so for me, it's worth it. But sometimes I wish I wasn't such a fanboy because I feel like that's just me making excuses of like, oh yeah, man. It's perfect for me because I'm gonna play it. But at the other end, it's like, no, that's just because I legitimately I know what I like, and that's what I like. So to me, it's not a big deal to pay that. But from the other side, yeah, as a casual, I guess it is like, what the fuck? Like, I thought I was paying $60 for a full game. Now you're going to pay essentially $80 for the complete game? Get the hell out of here, Like, I get that logic. But to me, it's kind of like, nobody has to buy that. But anyway, so that's my DLC reaction and discussion. I'm going to buy it, and I hope whoever does buy it enjoys it, and if you don't, well, good. Maybe you can buy some Nindies titles from the eShop. So the speculation I was thinking about for myself, and I feel like it was reinforced. There's a really neat interview with Time Magazine and Miyamoto, and he talks a lot about like artificial intelligence and where he sees the company, and specifically how they developed the Zelda game, or how they worked with story. And so this goes into my Zelda speculation, is a lot of people are curious, how are you able, within the first 15 minutes, to go to the final boss and beat the game while getting a full encapsulating story experience? Some people are like, I don't see how they're going to tackle story. How are we going to see all these story moments? Or how is the story going to make sense? Because obviously you're going to be missing a chunk of story if you just go straight to Ganon, or what is it called? Oh man, I forgot. But the end game Ganon boss. And how are you gonna have context for that confrontation? And I think that the reason they mention like open air instead of open world is because, well, you wake up from a 100-year nap or a 100-year slumber and you don't have any memory. I think that as you explore this open world area, you'll find areas that trigger memories from 100 years ago. And for all we know, maybe not that Zelda's dead, but maybe Zelda, the Goron, maybe different characters in a slumber. Basically, all the cutscenes we see from movies might be from his past, and he's waking up and he happens to like get deja vu at different points. It's basically like how the shrines are little markers on the map that you can visibly see, like, oh, there's a shrine there, let me go into it. There's going to be story markers, like how on GTA or another open world games, when there's a story mission as opposed to just a side quest, the story mission has like a beacon of, hey, you gotta come here to activate the story mission if you want to progress through the story. Zelda might have a bunch of those, but they're invisible on the map, and you have to explore, be very thorough with your exploration in order to see every chapter to finally build the story yourself. And so, because Miyamoto mentions in the interview that people's playtime is going to vary by how they experience it, and that still doesn't jive with, like, you mean like if you're a speedrunner or if you're just a casual player, or do you legitimately mean that if I only explore the left side of the map and get strong enough, I can beat Ganon like that? The only requirement is to maybe do the 4 dungeons that they talked about in the Game Informer article. And at that point, I just need to do 4 dungeons and get strong enough and I can beat Ganon. But like I'm saying, if I stay on the left side of the map, on the west side of Hyrule, then I would only see those story elements. And if I stay away from the east side, then I would totally miss any story markers that could be used there. And again, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's not all flashbacks. Maybe some of it is context sensitive. But yeah, I mean, to me, that makes sense. Because then in theory, you wake up and you run you and your boxers all the way to Ganon's castle and you whoop his ass, let's say, and you beat it in 15, 20 minutes. The context is you wake up and you see Hyrule Castle engulfed in darkness, and you in good conscience are like, I'm going to beat that guy. And you really don't even have to meet Zelda or anybody, in theory, if you're able to beat him with whatever you have. And that would make sense. But if you wake up and you're like, I don't know who I am, that looks bad, let me get stronger. Zelda, whoa, a Goron, whoa, a Ruto, a Zora, wow, I have all these friends. And then I think you start building a more engrossing story yourself. But you have to seek out these waypoints throughout the map. They're almost like story missions are optional, if that makes sense. And again, some people might be like, oh, come on, man, like, I don't have to look for the full story. But I think that's what Nintendo feels is part of the fun, or at least part of the freedom of this game, of why they're calling it open air instead of open world, because the world is a character as much as the player is, versus the world being a way to get to the story. The world is the story. And again, Miyamoto even reiterates those kind of things in his interview of how he wants players to each build their own story the way they're able to build it. Again, who knows if I'm right? I'm probably completely wrong. I don't even know why I'm speculating, considering people are already reviewing it with their review copies. You'll notice this if you listen to a bunch of gaming podcasts or pay attention to websites. You're going to start hearing less about Zelda. Game Informer is still going because they got the cover story, but in general you're going to hear a lot less because they're probably already reviewing it right now, or at least by the end of this week we'll get the review copies up so they can publish the review in the middle of next week. But yeah, it's exciting. I don't know why I'm speculating so close. We're going to know in like 2 weeks or a week and a half. But yeah, everybody, get hyped, get pumped. Let me know if you agree or disagree. You can tweet at Unsaluted. Let me know, like, hey, I really like what you have to say. Or be like, you can stop talking. No one's listening. Which is totally cool. I mean, I'll read it, So thanks, and hopefully I get another segment before the end of the week. I might. If Nintendo... I feel like Nintendo might start rolling down the hill with this Switch launch stuff, and maybe we'll get a direct, especially because they leaked some Switch specs from a dev kit from July, and so maybe Nintendo might be like, all right, we got to get out and squash this shit, because we can't be having rumors again. But alrighty, guys, I will see y'all next time I do a segment, and I will catch you on the other side. Goodbye. Oh, good lordy, everybody. I cannot believe it. Right now, I'm literally just responding minutes after watching that leaked UI of the Nintendo Switch. It was surprisingly enough, I was pretty early to the party. I was watching it as it was happening on GAF, and then I retweeted it. And of course, I don't have any followers, so nobody really heard. And then all of a sudden, I started seeing all these gaming outlets tweeting it like 20, 30 minutes after I did. And so it's just interesting, again, how I mean, I'm not the first. There was a lot of people who were there, obviously on GAF, who saw all this. But yeah, I mean, it's really fascinating to see the UI. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and check out the video. And if you don't want to ruin, don't want spoilers, I mean, come on, guys, it's a UI. How terrible is it gonna be? Oh God, I'll never have that fresh system feeling. I guess to some people, I kind of get that. But anyway, I mean, I just kind of wanted to add this segment into the podcast of just my reactions to it. And it seems speedy. It seems, as you're selecting information like language and stuff like that and network, every chime seems to get increased in the pitch, like boom, 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 boom. Almost like it's building up to, like, obviously all those fanboys are going to be like, oh God, oh God. It reminds me kind of Wind Waker when you're hitting people and you kind of do that combo where you do the dodge and then the final attack that knocks them on their back. It kind of has that kind of like, you know, a good feel to it when you click and stuff. Sorry if I sound like aggressive or angry. I'm just, these stupid leaks like this, they get me all excited and stuff. So I'm super hyped right now. But yeah, and other than that, I mean, the network's not up. Obviously, it's really super early. Rumors are that this guy got his Switch early. I don't really believe that. I might be a press breaking NDA. Sorry for all the clicking and clacking. My son's playing with color pencils. And yeah, I mean, I'm super excited. I'm looking forward to just the reviews. And yeah, because the press got their kits today too. And so it's just weird that the coincidence that the press happened to get theirs today as well as this leak happening. But yeah, I mean, we won't know until the system launches. So we'll just wait and see. I just wanted to give my quick impressions, and I'm really excited, really stoked. Hope you guys are too. Tweet at me at Unsaluted to give me your responses and any questions and comments you have on Nintendo Switch, Nintendo, or gaming in general, or even culture. I mean, whatever you have, I'm willing to talk about it, and I can answer them in the next episode. Alrighty, guys, I will end this podcast here, and I hope you guys have a great week, and hopefully next week we get some good surprises from Nintendo, as well as some great coverage from the press. And I will see y'all next week. Bye. Thank you for listening. If you guys have any comments or questions, you can reach me at Unsaluted on Twitter. And don't forget, you can find these episodes on iTunes, Google Music, SoundCloud, or YouTube. And again, just thank you for listening. I will catch you guys and gals next week. Bye-bye.